welcome back to another edition of The Morning View. What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. And this morning I've got a question for you. It was something that was brought up Monday on the red carpet. Shout out to James from the Muppeteers. He asked a question, and we were reflecting on 3 consecutive Premier League victories for the first time under Ruben Amorim, a considerable improvement in terms of domestic form, certainly at home. What is it? Is it 4 or 5 consecutive home victories for Manchester United? Big games also still to come, coming up, beginning this weekend against Nottingham Forest and then Spurs before the next international break. But James brought up the question, and I want to ask you guys here. I want to ask you guys, you can let me know in the chat. You can let me know in your super chats. You can let me know if you're watching this clip on social media afterwards. You can let me know in the comments. It's a simple question. Do Manchester United have the best front 3 in the Premier League? Now, your immediate, this is speaking for myself here, the immediate reaction from myself is to immediately go, oh, Manchester United don't have the best of anything in the Premier League, right? We've not done anything of substance for the longest time. And our players, they're terrible, they're criminals, they're this, they're that. But then you have to go, actually, okay, let me just not write off that question. Just let's have a look. Let's have a look at the league. Let's have a look at the other front 3s that the Premier League has and go, wow, maybe it's not the best. Maybe it's not the best, and I don't know what the best is or who has the best. There are certainly some strong contenders, but is it one of the best? We signed a brand new front 3 this past summer, spent around 200 million on it as well. Brian Mbeumo, he's getting goals and assists every single game. Mateus Cunha has just got his first goal for Manchester United, but he's been putting in impressive performances. Benjamin Šeško, one of the worst signings of the summer, according to a select group of agents who remain anonymous. But he's got 2 goals. He got an assist in his last game when he came on against Liverpool. He didn't start, but was an impressive performance. So, yeah, maybe Manchester United do. Or if they don't, certainly they're right up there. And the question is, if they're not the best, then who is? Let me know your thoughts about that in the chat. This is The Morning View, where we are discussing Manchester United news, topics, opinions, and all that fun stuff. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe to United View. If you are new, you could say actually that Manchester United, they did some major surgery over the summer when it comes to the front 3. The prior front 3, there were issues. There was a lack of goals, a lack of assists, a lack of quality. They were not, what's the word I'm looking for? They were not, it's right on the tip of my tongue. You know, when you try and think of a word and you can't really think of what it is. Oh, yeah, they were not optimized. Roll VT.
Today's video is sponsored by our friends at Oxford Natural and their all-new natural supplement, Optimum Day and Night. Thousands across the UK, USA, and beyond are smashing their health goals with Oxford Natural. Optimum Day gives you steady energy, curbs your cravings, and keeps your metabolism firing all day. Optimum Night helps you relax, get restorative sleep, recover, and keep burning fat while you rest. It's not a magic pill, but it will help you reach your health goals. Check out some of the incredible results. 2 of our own. OWEN lost over 100 pounds in 10 months, and KG dropped 30 pounds in 4 months. In 8 months, football legend Michael Owen lost 35 pounds, and Robbie from AFTV, Don Robbie, lost over 80 pounds. And in 6 months, Anita, an award-winning immigration lawyer, lost 44 pounds. And Linda, a law firm executive, lost over 50 pounds. No gimmicks, no needles, just results. Oxford Natural, let's get to work.
Yes, let's get to work indeed. As you can see right there, you can scan that QR code, you can subscribe, you can save up to 70% off. All the information, as always, is in the video description below. It's pinned in the chat as well. You can get your Optimum Daily, which is good for your weight loss goals. You can get your Optimum Night, which is good for your restorative sleep. I don't have my things like Flex does. You know, does all that things, doesn't he? We don't have that, but it is a brand new and improved formula. The results speak for themselves, and you can get optimized today. Use the code UV, and you can subscribe. Save up to 70% off. Let me know where you're watching from this morning. Let me know what the time is, what the weather is like. I tell you what, I had to I caved this morning. Yeah, folks, I caved. Put the heating on. Yeah, I know. Missed the money bags over here. Putting on the heating. I know it's only going to be for a short period of time. It was just a bit cold. It was a little bit cold this morning. Couldn't be dealing with that. No, I couldn't. As Campaign says there in the chat as well, obviously thoughts are with everyone currently in Jamaica and really the sort of Caribbean as well. I, like many people, had been watching the news coverage of obviously the hurricane, and it's being called a storm of the century. I think they said it's globally it's the worst storm of 2025 thus far. And like I said, in terms of Jamaica, I think they are calling it the storm of the century. There, it's just whenever you see just the images alone on the news, then let alone imagine actually living through that, being there, is absolutely terrifying. So obviously hope everyone is staying as safe as they possibly can. Thoughts are with you. Obviously, if you've got family or loved ones out there, check in if you can. And fingers crossed. I say it doesn't look as bad as it looks on the television, but my goodness me, it does look very, very frightening and scary, doesn't it? So obviously thoughts are with them, and hopefully it's just sort of minimal damage. But they are saying it could be, a danger to life, certainly. So prayers are certainly to those in Jamaica, and like I said, the Caribbean. I see that. After it hits Jamaica, they were saying, I think it might hit Cuba as well. It's, very, very, very worrying, very, very concerning. And here's hoping that, like I said, it's one of those ones, sometimes these things happen and they go, it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. But my goodness, very, very scary. So thoughts are with them. Ronnie Dodge with the first super chat of the morning says, having Cunha and Mbeumo running at you scares anyone. Well, do you know what? It was an interesting when I was sort of preparing the show this morning and thinking about what we were gonna talk about. I did think, about that comment that James made on the red carpet Monday really stuck with me when he said, "If we got the best front three in the Premier League," and I thought, like I said in my intro, it's an initial reaction, isn't it, of anything with Manchester United, of when we use the word best. The immediate reaction is no. Manchester United don't have the best of anything, right? We used Ineos's phrase, best in class, as kind of a sort of sarcasm or a sense of irony. We've done it before, haven't we? Of, oh yeah, best in class. They're going to bring in best in class. They're going to bring in this. They're going to do that. And then, as All Elite says there in the chat, it's really, really funny as well, because this is what a few wins does to change the mood and conversations. And we're going to talk a little bit about sort of the general mood a little bit later on, because I do want to talk about that, because I think yesterday evening, Flex uploaded a really interesting video talking about Ruben Amorim and if he's adapted, and just sort of the general state of play with Manchester United at the moment. And the reaction to that I thought was fascinating, absolutely fascinating, because we are into a very much a point scoring territory at the moment. I feel like, which is I wasn't wrong, you were wrong. See, you should admit that you were wrong. It's very, very interesting, but we'll talk about that later on. In terms of the front three, so obviously the front three that I'm talking about here, even though we've actually got a few, we've got a few different front threes at the moment, because of course the front three when we played Liverpool at Anfield was a front three of Cunha and Mbeumo Mount. Strong front three. I think when we're talking about, our proper front three, I think we're thinking about the new signings we got over the summer, aren't we? We're thinking of Šeško, we're thinking of Cunha, we're thinking of Mbeumo. And when you compare it to other front threes in the Premier League, I mean, it's dangerous, isn't it? This is where I'm at with it. It's dangerous. I would absolutely agree with people that would say, well, I think Man United can certainly have an argument to say that, we've got one of the best front threes in the Premier League. Frankly, we probably should, shouldn't we? Let's be honest here, folks. We probably should have one of the best front threes in the Premier League, because we just spent a shitload of money buying them in Bryan Mbeumo and Mateus Cunha. They were two of the standout players in the Premier League that weren't part of top six sides last season. Bryan Mbeumo was one of the top scorers in the Prem. Mateus Cunha, one of the top, scorers, assists, goal contributions in the Prem. Benjamin Šeško, someone that a litany of top clubs across Europe have been looking at and have been scouting for the longest time. It's not only just Manchester United that have been linked with Šeško for the longest time. The fact that I can do the voice, where is it here?
Benjamin Šeško.
The fact that I've got that set up is because the pursuit of Šeško was over so many years, right? So, and other clubs, Arsenal, Newcastle, etc., they've all been linked. They've all been linked to him. So we should have one of the top front threes in the Premier League. Now, in terms of, are they the best? Like with anything, it's early, isn't it? It's early to say. I think we need to. We kind of merge back into the point scoring element of it, don't we? We do like to go overboard both ways, and I hold myself into this certainly because we're football fans and we're passionate about the club we support and the club we love. So we do win a few games and. We score some goals and we have some good performances. And it looks like, Cunha and Mbeumo starting to link up a little bit. Šeško's finding his feet. He's looking more sharp, more confident. He's scoring goals, getting assists. Link up play looks nice. And immediately we're like, that's the best in the league. that's the best in the league. And we go, well, that's game by game. You know what I mean? It's still kind of game by game. I think a little bit, but I think they're in the conversation. Sure. I mean, let's look at the Premier League right now. Who would we say is Arsenal's de facto front three? Because again, this is also, it kind of changes, doesn't it? So the front three, what we're saying, Arsenal's front three is Saka, Gyökeres, and the other one changes a bit. Sometimes it's Trossard. Sometimes it's Martinelli. Sometimes I guess it's Madueke's out injured. So it's difficult to say, but that would be one of the top front threes in the Prem. And actually I'd go, wow, if it's Gyökeres versus Šeško, I'd probably have Šeško for Manchester United's team. I think Gyökeres, it's not that it's a bad signing for Arsenal by any stretch. I'm not going to try and play that like, oh, it's a terrible signing. But the more that Arsenal go on and they're having great success at the moment, and I don't really give a shit about whether they're boring or this, that, and the other. But he doesn't look like he's maybe the best fit. Doesn't look like maybe the best fit. And you would make the argument, wow, a lot of Arsenal's goals come from set pieces. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. But, maybe that would suggest that their front three isn't their strongest point. It's their ability to score from set pieces or something, right? So maybe they're not the best front three. Okay, let's go to another team. Let's go to Manchester City. What does their front three look like? Again, it's difficult because it changes quite a lot with Pep. But it would be Haaland, and then who do you have? Again, depends on the formation on the day. Haaland's the constant, and for me, Haaland, in terms of the best striker. Anyway, this is when you get into your definitions. What do you want your strikers to do? If you want your strikers to completely score goals, then Erling Haaland, absolutely best striker in the world, let alone the Premier League. But then either side of them, you're looking at going, what have they got? Jeremy Doku. I'd rather have Brian Mbeumo and Mateus Cunha. Who else have they got on the others? They got Marmoush. I think he's injured at the moment. Cherky, injured. I'd for what Man United need, which is a lot. Yeah, I'd have Mbeumo and Cunha. Obviously, if you're going to weigh up Šeško versus Haaland, weigh up anyone versus Erling Haaland in terms of money and goal scoring rather. Then Haaland's going to beat that. But all right, the Man United, you go right pound for pound, person for person. I'll have Man United's front three over that. I mean, Haaland is a cheat code, but if Erling Haaland doesn't score, they've got you kind of beat City, doesn't it? You see him at the weekend. Haaland doesn't score, they lose 1-0. Right? Okay, let's go to Liverpool's front three, which on paper, by the way, you look at Liverpool's front three with what they did in the summer, it should be like, depending on the day, you got Salah. It might be Alexander Isak, he's injured. So Ekitike, Gakpo, you know, you go, oh wow, that's good. It's good front three, but on paper, on paper, it's good. But in terms of actual performance, it's not really doing that much at the moment, is it? It's not really doing that much. Now, I think you have to be very careful to write off someone like Mo Salah. You know, obviously, I know there's obviously a lot of talk about him at the moment, whereby he played for the contract, he's finished, he's not what he was, this, that, and the other. Still, Mo Salah record does speak for itself. But like I said, in terms of delivering, no, not really delivering that much. So I think there certainly is an argument. I think this is the point that James was making on Monday. I think it's a valid one. There are definitely pros and cons there. Like I said, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the, Man United. We've won a couple of games now, and suddenly we've got the best of lots of things in the Premier League. But if you're looking at it, let's look at Chelsea's front three. I mean, they're mid-table. Bloody hell. You know what I mean? They're mid-table. Who's their front three? Well, let's look at the front three that started at the weekend against Sunderland, shall we? They got wingers that involve Neto and Garnacho. Already disqualifies you. For me, or already disqualifies you from going that they have one of the best front threes in the Prem. So, in fairness, if you're going to look at it in terms of on paper versus also delivering, yeah, Man United are up there. Like I said, I'm probably a little bit weary of going Man United have the best of anything just yet, because we need to. We still need to, I think, take it game by game, take it steady. That's why when it comes to all of this Ruben chatter, so when are you going to admit that you were wrong? When we continue to win games, obviously. In the same way that it took in terms of my decision of Ruben, it's not going to work out. That took how many months? How many games? Was it like 50? And a lot of it was defeats. So it's gonna take a bit of time. But I think certainly really, really positive signs. If you look at the players individually, I don't know how I could talk about Bryan Mbeumo for hours. I will continue to stress that I think Bryan Mbeumo, once the season is done, not just for Manchester United, I think he'll end up probably, he and maybe Lomans, one of them will probably end up being, I think, our signing of the season. I think in terms of overall in the Prem, I think in terms of overall in the Prem, Bryan Mbeumo will be up there with one of the signings of the season. I think his level is just so consistently high. And even if it drops, it only drops like that. It's always up here. You always, sometimes you go into those games and there are players that, as a fan, you have to kind of worry about because you're not sure what they're going to do. I speak about Garnacho there, or even, Rashford the last sort of 18 months. Not so much in Erik ten Hag's first season when he had that brilliant form. But, there are players in there that you go, I tell you what, I have no idea what they're going to do today. They might need Alejandro Garnacho. He might need 5 or 6 chances to maybe score a goal. Bryan Mbeumo, I just don't have that feeling about him. If he's through on goal, whether it's the first minute at Anfield or the last minute at Old Trafford against Brighton, I'm very confident minimum he's going to get it on target or he's going to score. Because he's just, that kind of pressure doesn't face him. I know throughout the game, he's going to be causing issues for defense, for the opposition defense. I know that he's going to be pressing. I know that he's going to be doing the work coming back as well. If Ahmad's playing on the same side as him, I know that Ahmad's going to be making that run every single time. Whether or not Mbeumo uses him, doesn't have to, but it's dangerous. So Bryan Mbeumo, for me, has that consistency and that quality. I think that is needed in a Manchester United player. And that is when, you have to praise the Ineos strategy in the summer of going, that Premier League proven. It's because you know what you're going to get. We speak about this so often when we do the transfer shows in the summer and in the winter about, Premier League proven and Premier League tax and this, that, and the other. And sometimes it works against you because we've seen so much of the player. We know their positives and their negatives, and we hyper focus on their negatives instead of the positives they could bring to the club and could bring to the team. But Bryan Mbeumo, there was never much doubt, I think, in anyone's mind. I would love to go back to those videos over the summer, and I would doubt you'd probably see very few negatives comments about people signing about us signing Brian Mbeumo, because he was always going to deliver. It's not too much of a surprise, but even still, it's I think really encouraging what he's doing, because I think he's only going to get better. Then you're looking at Matheus Cunha, of course, but a bit more difficult for him because he's a completely different player to Brian Mbeumo, isn't he? He is that more of a maverick. He does have, I think, a bigger, I talked about Mbeumo that his levels here, and even if he drops, it's only to about here. Cunha's a little bit more, it can go a bit more up and down. It can go more up and down. He's more of a flair player. But I do think after he got his goal at the weekend and that Liverpool performance, I think he's starting to find his feet a little bit more. I don't think he'll be as consistent as a Mbeumo in terms of a regular every single game kind of top quality kind of player. But I do think that he does offer something that we just don't really have anywhere else in the team, that he can pick up the ball from deep. He can drive at players. He can get shots on target from outside the box as well. The stat last season was the amount of goals he scored outside the box. So I think there's really encouraging signs there. And I think actually what's really worked out well for Ruben is that the ability to play Cunha in the false nine, it's actually knocked, I think, Xerxes down even more in the pecking order, because I think Šeško's your starting striker. And if Šeško doesn't start, I think Cunha then goes straight in to the false nine. And then you have like a Mason Mount or someone like that playing the 10. So I think Cunha's really starting to settle. And then I think Benjamin Šeško, I might be just being a bit hypersensitive here. I might be being a bit hypersensitive, and I might just be like, hated, adored, never ignored, all that stuff. But has the sort of media scrutiny or media narrative around Benjamin Šeško since he signed for Manchester United just been a bit off? I think it has. And I can't really put my finger on why that is the case. But there's been, I think anyway, a concerted effort to try and gaslight people, Man United fans, and just general football fans, that Šeško's been this like flop, or Šeško's been this person that hasn't settled, or he hasn't done very well, or Manchester United have overspent and he's actually not that good. And I'm like, are they watching the matches? Are they watching the games? Now, if you're going to, rank the front three that we signed in the summer and say, well, who's been the best, who's been the worst, you'd probably go, well, obviously, Mbeumo, he's hit the ground running, he's getting goals, getting assists. With Šeško and Cunha, you'd probably say it's a little bit close. I'd probably say Šeško maybe even a little bit ahead of Matheus Cunha in terms of, like, he got 2 goals and then he got an assist in the last game. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. Maybe I am being hypersensitive, just being a Man United fan, trying to sort of protect the new signings or what have you. But, like, with that Athletic article with those agents, worst signing of the summer, I did the video about it. Worst signing of the summer. That's a lot of ground to cover, isn't it? There's already been some pretty shitty signings in the Premier League this season over the summer. The worst of the summer. Really? And even sort of Gary Neville at the weekend with his link-up play wasn't very good, or he wasn't linking up. He linked up he got his assist in terms of linking up. There's the foul by Luke Shaw, does the turn, plays the pass, Brian Mbeumo scores a goal. Looks pretty link up to me. You've got players in the Premier League that have been bought for over £100 million and have yet to register a goal and assist. Florian Wirtz is still yet to register a goal and assist in the Prem. Aidan Heavens got more assists in the Premier League this season than Florian Wirtz. But Benjamin Šeško, terrible. He's not going to make it. He's not linking up properly. He's not going to score goals. What? What are we talking about? And like that, but I think maybe it stems from that Grimsby game when he took the last penalty, which was explained at the time about was very rusty and what have you, and wasn't very fit. And it's turned into, I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. And I go back to that Athletic article that I did the video on. And it said that Manchester United had, I think they said West Ham had the worst transfer window, and then Manchester United was joint second for the worst transfer window in the summer. And you want to talk about being proved right and point scoring and this aged badly and that aged badly, blah, 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 blah. I tell you what, I think that article from those agents, that is going to age horrifically this season, saying that Benjamin Šeško is the worst signing of the summer and Manchester United had the joint second worst transfer window of the summer. Now, I don't think you could go, Man United had the best window of the summer or anything like that. But for all of the chatter and talk that Liverpool had won the window, I don't think they're feeling like they won anything right now. They spent over 400 million. They broke the British transfer record twice. They've now nearly lost as many games as they've won this season. So it is interesting how suddenly now the season has started to get up and going and things maybe settled a little bit. I'd love to see if they revisit that. I love to see that, because we pointed this out before. When it came to Wirtz, there was a lot of protection. There still is a lot of protection for him. And there'll be a lot of protection for Alexander Isak at Liverpool as well. Wow. Didn't have a pre-season. Wow. Difficult time for Liverpool at the moment. Wow. This, that, and the other. Well, Man United, Benjamin Šeško didn't have much of a pre-season. Signed towards the end of the window. But no, it was already a flop, even though he's got goals and assists continuously. It's very interesting sometimes how that works, isn't it? Very interesting. Let's see where the super chats are saying at the moment. I think we're up to Nathan. Says, my heart is so heavy, oh, my beautiful country. Yeah, like I said earlier on, Nathan. Thoughts with everyone affected by the hurricane in Jamaica and across the Caribbean. Last night, this morning, like I said, I think everyone, when these things happen, you sort of turn on the news and just kind of, before I speak for myself, you just kind of just stare at it and you're almost in awe. The power of like nature, and when you see it, it's unbelievable, and it's so frightening, so scary, and there's nothing you can really do about it. You can just protect yourself as best as you can, and like I said, send thoughts and prayers to anyone affected. Obviously, like I said, if you've got loved ones, try and check in if it's possible, see if they need anything, see if they're taking care of themselves. It is really, 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 really sad and really, really worrying to see. So, like I said, here's hoping that everyone remains as unscathed as possible. But like I said, a storm of a century. Nathan also says, United look good right now, outscoring teams. Well, that was also this. I think this was a super chat on Monday's red carpet as well. Someone brought it up, and I thought it was a really apt point, actually, that I'm really glad that we didn't win the game 3-2 and we won it 4-2. Because if we'd have just sort of just got over the line, there still would have been a bit of a negative connotation to that Brighton game, wouldn't there? Of, well, we kind of nearly threw it away. We just sort of fell over the line in the end. It wasn't. I think we would have probably ended up focusing more on the negatives than the positives. But because we got that fourth goal from Mbeumo, and 4-2 looks better than 3-2, and scoring goals, and you kind of write off those the two goals that were conceded because you go, you're outscoring teams. That's old school Man United, isn't it? Who gives a shit? We'll just score more than you. So I do agree. That was the goals, very encouraging. Jamie says, best top three in the world of all time. People don't know with Jamie. I do know Jamie, not personally, but I know Jamie because Jamie's a regular on my channel, Wrestling News 365. I'm less than like 250 subscribers, by the way, till 25k, which is my goal this year. So if you haven't already, go over there. Links in the video description below. But Jamie, he is chief hater. I'm not sure he says anything that isn't maybe sarcasm and maybe isn't a bit of a dig. But he's consistent with it. And he's generous with it. And do you know what makes Jamie a good guy, really, even though he'll talk shit in the comments? What makes Jamie a good guy is Jamie will probably know the event better than I. I think it was Night of Champions. It might have been Night of Champions. I did a video on my channel which was like, oh, these things could happen. They were like sort of predictions, speculation, fantasy booking, that kind of thing. And he said... something along the lines of, they're not going to happen. None of them are going to happen. I'll bet you money. And for each one that happens, I'll super chat 100 quid. 3 things happened and he super chatted 300 quid. Hey, you can't say better fair than that. That's someone that's living up to their word. So big up, Jamie. Keegan says, can we take a minute to appreciate Matthijs de Ligt? Yes, we can. This is another one, which is funny with de Ligt, is I think from the United fans' perspective, I think you look at this season with Matthijs de Ligt, and actually even at points last season where you go, look, he's doing all right. He's consistent. I think he's a leader. He maybe isn't the most refined player. And I think that you'll probably go, look, there are better centre-backs out there than de Ligt. But I would agree with you, Keegan. I don't think from maybe outside of United fans, he's getting necessarily the respect that he deserves so far this season. And de Ligt's another interesting one because there has been a narrative surrounding him for quite some time. Lord knows when we signed him, the pushback, even from some of our ex-players in Scholes and others, were already trying to sort of poo-poo the idea of a signing de Ligt, and he wouldn't be a good signing. Remember, you had the fake narrative out there that he got pushed out of the Bayern Munich team by Eric Dyer. That's what it was. Eric Dyer kicked him out of the Bayern Munich team. And then he went, oh, is that true? And then he looked at him and went, no, actually, they played together quite a bit in Thomas Tuchel's Bayern team. And actually, I think about Arsenal playing Bayern Munich in the Champions League. I think, what was that, quarterfinals? He played in those games. And when they went out against Real Madrid, I think he was playing in that game as well. So that narrative's not true. And this season, that centre-back position in that back three is perfect for him. I mean, I know that sometimes when Maguire plays, he plays in the right centre-back channel. I prefer him in the middle because I also like Lenny Yoro being in the right centre-back channel because I like the recovery pace. And I think this Yoro is just top quality player. And the fact that this is still his first full season. We forget that. He missed the first 3 months of last season because he had his foot problems. Never even played for Erik ten Hag. So now this is Yoro's first full season, and he just gets better and better and better. So I like Yoro in that right centre-back spot. But de Ligt in the middle, I think if anything happened with Bruno regarding captaincy, if he did go to Saudi, or let's say he goes to a European club in the summer, I think someone like de Ligt is absolutely in the contention for someone you'd want to be captain. I mean, he did earlier on in his career with Ajax at the age of 18. Was it 17, 18? He was captain of Ajax, winning Eredivisie and getting to Champions League semi-finals. So he's got that leadership quality. It was a bit of a surprise, frankly, wasn't it? When he left Ajax, that wasn't the surprise because everyone was leaving Ajax then. But the surprise was that he went to Juventus, wasn't it? It was kind of like, oh, he's going to Juventus. Now, at the time, Juventus were throwing around a lot of money. This is when they had Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think Juventus's big desire, wasn't it, was to win the Champions League, and they were throwing everything at it. Didn't then end up working. They had financial problems. COVID happened, so they lost a shitload of money. Plus, he was going into a team that I think still had Chiellini and Bonucci as the centre-back partnership. That's a difficult one to break. So it didn't work out, but it's not like he got sold from Juventus because he was a complete flop. It was also, I think, because they just had really bad money problems. Look at what's happened with Juventus. Juventus went from a team of winning Serie A for pretty much a decade in a row to losing loads and loads of money. And I think they just sacked their manager again, didn't they? So he goes to Bayern, and then Bayern, again, not to say that it didn't work out, but this was a period of time which Bayern Munich can't win in the Bundesliga too. So they're going through some troubles, right? Nagelsmann was there for a bit. They got rid of him for Thomas Tuchel. Then with Tuchel, it didn't work out. So he's known how to pick them, hasn't he, de Ligt? But I think this season, Keegan, I think you're right. I think he's been really, really good. I think he's a leader. I think he's consistent. I think he's physical. And I think he's doing very well at United. Jamie says, Mbumo to score anytime is always in my acca now. And that's probably one of the biggest signs of approval, signs that he's doing well, isn't it? That you always feel like he's going to score. DJ, big up on the match view. I think DJ's going to be back on the match view this weekend. Says, media spin is a good sign. They fear us. Glory, glory, Man United. And AJ says they do the same with Gyökeres, and my fan base are buying it. Don't let them gaslight you guys. They never write articles about Wirtz and Isak. Don't fall for it. Well, I slightly disagree there, AJ. I disagree because they do write articles about Wirtz and Isak, but the articles are basically about how they're going to come really good. They're going to, you know what I mean? They're going to come really good. They just need time. Don't worry about Florian Wirtz. It's top quality. Don't worry about them at all. And Alexander Isak, he's gonna come good. And it is one of those ones that, I mean, look at someone like Paul Pogba, who wasn't even bought for the same amount of money as Florian Wirtz. But Pogba's 100 million euros, let alone 100 million quid, over 100 million quid. And you get Graham Souness saying that it's expected for someone that's 100 million euros to get, was it 5 assists per game? Wouldn't give him credit for doing that against Leeds. Well, that's what's expected. That's expected. Should be doing that. I would love to know what he thinks of Florian Wirtz right now. Is it expected that the only time he gets 4? Thank you, Compost Smurf. It's expected that that the only time he can get a goal and assist is against Bundesliga sides in the Champions League. Well, it's expected. £100 million plus player, right? Right. And then, as PJ says there, then it turns into, well, actually, if you look at progressive ball carries per 75 minutes on the left-hand channel of the field field tilt. Basically a bullshit stat, like you said, to be like, oh, he's doing really well. Don't think so. It's a load of teats, I tell you. So yes, to basically sum that up with the front three, there might be a conversation to be had about that, of the best front three in the Premier League, Manchester United. Let me know your thoughts about that in the chat. Right. I also do want to talk this morning. I do want to talk about adaptation. I think this is very, very interesting. So, just out of actually, I'm gonna put a poll in the chat. And also you can let me know what you think. As Ridwan says here, yeah, sensitive topic, very sensitive topic at the moment. I'm gonna put a poll in the chat. It's gonna be a simple question: has Ruben Amorim adapted? Let's see what you guys say. Has Ruben Amorim adapted? Because it's very, and actually, in fairness, I just saw, I just saw James from the Uptiers tweeted last night something that I'll get up on the screen as well. Because he, I think, says it probably best. No. There you go. Right, got to put in some emojis in there as well. You got a nice tick and a cross in there. Has Ruben Amorim adapted? Yes. There you go. Right, poll is in the chat. See, already it's interesting. MA says light adaptation. PJ says yes, long balls, for example, dropping by and dear. John James says, I need more games to judge. I can't answer right now. Liam says, I need more games to see. Adapted, yes. Savage says, it depends on whether you consider being more direct to be a change. Peg says 100%. He's adapted some of his tactics. It's not just not the base formation. Do you know what? This is really interesting. MacMac says a few tweaks here and there, because if you look at Flex's video last night, yeah, the reaction would be definitely not. Manish says nope, decent keeper, more clinical in front of goal. Well, the polls in the chat, polls in the chat at the moment. Again, it's only just been in there. At the moment, yes is at 67%, no's at 30. Well, it's now 69%. Pause, but with no 31. Flex did a video last night. We'll watch a bit of it in a second. But before that, I do want to get up this tweet from James from the Muppeteers, because I think this is kind of where I think it kind of lies at the moment. So James said, interested in this discussion over Amorim changing or not. Making a video on this tomorrow, so be sure to check that out. But an intriguing discussion. It is. Says, happy to debate it with anyone as well. Most people who are ripping Amorim for his system are now saying he changed his system. Most who were backing him saying it's just better executed. I'm heavily in this camp personally. He then also says, personally, I think United have changed. If you just look at United, you see, if you look at how he had his sporting team playing, you're seeing a lot of the patterns start to take hold stronger each game. And it's pretty obvious this is where it was always going into a game with a game plan to exploit a weakness in the opposition, i.e. going long versus Liverpool, to me, has nothing to do with system. And I think people will find this is simply a game plan that will change. Choice within a system. This again, I think this is interesting. I think this is interesting. I get what James is saying there. So I think basically James's point there is, well, is he adapting because different matches cause for different game plans? So it's difficult just to say Ruben's adapted because you should probably be changing every game depending on who you're playing. For instance, if you're going away to Anfield, we're not in that space where we have a set style of play. And if we just play that way, we might lose that game. A bit like Ange had, at Spurs last season. This is how I play. Well, you should probably tweak some things to get the best result. Is that adaptation? Well, it kind of is, isn't it? You know what I mean? It kind of is, and it kind of isn't. I'm in the mindset of, I think definitely in terms of individual games, he tweaks things, he changes things. And I would agree that he's probably done that throughout his entire time, right? He's probably done that his entire time at United of, you've got a week's worth of training, or even last season when it's not even a week's worth of training, it's a few days. You go into every game with a bit of a game plan, and that game plan may cause player X to man mark this player, or if you've got an opportunity, put that ball over the top, go there. So I think that's fair. I think that's fair to say that he's always done that. But I don't think it's accurate to play up this idea, and this was kind of in a lot of the comments on Flex's video yesterday, this idea that basically Ruben Amorim, since he started at Manchester United in November last season to now, has not changed anything about the way he sets up the team, and he's not changed anything about what he asks the players to do. The players are just better at executing it now. I don't buy that personally. I don't. And I think actually this is where I'm going to praise Ruben Amorim. I think I'm praising Ruben Amorim because I think he's done what competent coaches, managers in life do, which is, all right, you've got your principles, and they might not really change that much. Your hard ideas and the way you want, your team to perform in terms of, let's say, energy, commitment, desire, discipline. They can be fundamentals that don't really change regardless of the game plan that you're executing. But I think if you watch the games and you watch how we were playing last season versus this season, there is an adaptation from Ruben Amorim. There is a change, and that's not a negative at all. And that's where we go into this kind of, again, the point scoring part of it, of like, no, Ruben Amorim has been right the whole time. He's got nothing wrong. It's been completely 100% perfect the whole time. It's just these shitty players couldn't execute it. And look, certainly there were players that couldn't maybe execute what he was wanting them to do. But again, many things I think can be true at the same time, which is, like, for instance, having a goalkeeper in, I do agree with those people that will say, well, actually, no, Lomans makes a massive difference. Having a goalkeeper that can go in there and, have that calmness makes a massive difference. Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I've mentioned that many a time. I've said you can't build a house without a solid foundation. If you've got a goalkeeper that at any point can have the ball slip through his legs or go through his hands or fumble across or come out and punch a play and give away a penalty, you can't build on that, right? You can't build on that. So to have a goalkeeper that will claim crosses and can make saves and isn't going to make huge errors is absolutely a valid point, I think, to say, well, that helps things. But I also don't think that's like we've put Lomans in, that's the miracle cure, that's solved Manchester United. Suddenly the entire system has clicked into place because of that. No, I think it's Ruben being a good coach. I do. I think it's Ruben being a good coach going, okay, I've got a better front three now that we spoke about earlier. I've got a striker in Benjamin Šeško that I can go long to. We can play long balls. I've also got strikers that, even if I'm not playing the target man striker, can get knockdowns and can run in behind. That's a massive part of it. I'm realizing that, okay, I maybe had a sort of picture in mind last season, and I thought maybe we were going to get midfielders in the summer. That didn't happen. So I'm going to have to sort of adapt how we play to get the best out of that midfield. If my midfield in 2025 is Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro, both over the age of 30, then I can't be asking them to cover huge amounts of ground, huge amounts of distances. I can't have the gaps be that big. Or maybe if I go a bit more direct and they can be there higher up the pitch, they can be there on those second balls. Or when there is a bit more space, because we're going a bit more direct, then they've got a bit more time and they can play those passes. It's a bit more compact. You know what I mean? I think it's unfortunately, this is when we go back to these things. It's an answer that I don't think pleases really anyone, because the answer is that everyone's kind of right here. You know, there are some fundamentals that Ruben hasn't changed. You know, the back three, back five, the 3-4-3, that hasn't changed. You know, the base formation hasn't changed at all. So, okay, if you were the big proponent of going, he's not going to win any games with a back three, well, all right, you were wrong. But, you know, he was going to win some games. He's won some games with a back three, you know. But I think if you look at the games now versus last season, the horseshoe that we spoke about, we don't see that horseshoe anywhere near as much as we did last season. I think that's fair to say. I think actually, if you let's look at some of the stats with in terms of like possession and stuff like that. So for instance, we played Brighton at home. We had 42% possession. I remember at points last season, some of our opening games under Ruben, we're getting possession stats of like 60, 65%. We don't hold on to the ball as much anymore. We go longer. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think Ruben's, any good coach should come into the Premier League, have their way of playing and go, yeah, Premier League's a little bit different. So I'm gonna have to maybe tweak that a little bit. Getting in better players absolutely helps. We speak about the front three, massively helps. Getting in a goalkeeper absolutely helps. Having that extra time on the training pitch, it should help. And I think it is starting to help now. So it's a combination of a lot of things. But I saw Flex's video last night. My goodness me. my goodness me. Some of the comments, they were rough. They were very, very rough. Let's see if I can get this up on the screen for you guys. Share this tab instead. This is what I'm looking for. There you go. Boom. Right. It should be a hands up, I was wrong video. Amorim has not changed. It is easy for people to say he's changed because they wanted him gone, or they thought his formation or system wasn't working. By the way, Amorim has been going. Amorim has been going long. We just never had the personnel to execute it well. Half the time, Onana would kick it out of the pitch or the wrong direction. Please, before you say he has changed, go watch Sporting. It is similar to what we are now. He's just better at it. Amorim hasn't changed. The players just now understand what he's trying to do. Just admit you're clueless about the system. You owe the fans in this channel to go and study how Sporting plays and shut up after that. Not much has changed. All the players obviously have more together than us. The formation isn't different. Only major massive difference is the goalkeeper. In my opinion, the goalie has installed security and we are less anxious in attacking. A competent pair of hands and net. De Gea vibes. He saves, we score. Flex's video is unnecessary. You mean we're finally adapting to Ruben? The man literally said he won't change. Flex, you're struggling to figure out how to explain the results after all your rants and Amorim out campaigns. I don't think he's changed. It's pathetic how people like Flex really think they know football more than most Premier League managers. Well, look, if we go down that route, then we might as really well shut the channel down, because that comment basically means that we're not entitled to have an opinion about, about anything, because we're not a Premier League manager. That's when I remember KG's mentioned it before. When the team news comes out and we have the meltdown, KG's rightfully so gone before, well, I shouldn't be saying anything. I can't change the team, so we might as well sit in silence. But right, Flex, we used to go long to Hoyland. Don't try it, Flex. Nothing has changed. What else have people got? He's not changed. Players have been doing what they asked for once. Good to see people aren't buying Flex's BS. Ran a shameful campaign to get Amorim out. We've been going long since Arsenal. Amorim's not changed. He's not changed. What's annoying is Flex and Alice are saying the same thing. Instead of just saying they were wrong, they're saying he's changed. I'm sorry, Flex. You've got to accept you were wrong. This is embarrassing. BS, mate. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. Stop that. We didn't do it against Brighton. He hasn't adapted. Stop it, Flex. We haven't changed. It's nuts. So I don't think that I don't think it's a case of, there are certain things Ruben hasn't adapted to, but I do think it's I do think it is kind of naive just to have this idea that, there's no difference basically between the Manchester United now, the way that everything is set up. For instance, the last game against Brighton versus, let's say, that first game against Ipswich. There's no difference. There's no difference in what Ruben is looking for from the team. Absolutely zero. We've just got better players and a better goalkeeper. I feel like that's a big oversimplification. Now, the end result is the same. I think the end result of the same, which is now we're winning matches. That's all I care about. You know what I mean? That's all I care about. My team is winning, so I don't give a shit. But I think James kind of summed it up quite eloquently in his tweet again. I do think so, which was this. Where he said about Amorim changing. I think he says most people who are ripping Amorim for a system are now saying he's changed his system. Most who were backing him just saying it's better executed. I think it's one of those ones where we're not going to figure it out, are we? We're just going to be at each other all season. It like the line's been crossed, isn't it? I think the line's been crossed. I think it is kind of wild to be like, so we've won these 3 games in a row. Now it's got to be, so when are you going to admit that you were wrong? When are you going to admit that you were wrong? Well, again, time will tell when it comes to it. I really hope so. I really, really hope so. And I'm thrilled. I'm so happy that we are improving, that we're getting better. Do you know how refreshing it was to go into a game against Brighton at the weekend and be like, I think we're going to win. I think most people's predictions was that we're going to win. And I haven't been able to do that for the longest time, particularly a game against Brighton, but just in general, going to a match going, yeah, I think we'll play all right today. I think we'll do all right. I think these players will deliver. I think I like Lomans in goal, and I think that Brian and Boom, I know he's going to deliver, and and Cunha, Manish says we've beaten Forest. Yeah, I think I know we've been a bit concerned. Sean Dyche, first home game, recent record, or where the City ground hasn't been great, but we're one of the more informed teams in the Premier League at the moment. We should be backing ourselves to go there and beat Forest. And again, that's such a huge difference. But I think we maybe do ourselves a bit of a disservice to be like, well, Ruben's just been exactly the same throughout this whole this whole process, because I don't think so. And I think that would be the sign of a bit of an arrogant coach, of this idea of basically, I've got the solution to football. I've got the solution to winning football, and it's my way, or that's it. It's my way. Even if I don't have the players to do it, I'll just keep doing that, and then I'll get sacked. I don't think Ruben's done that. I think Ruben's got his, again, principles and maybe a framework. But someone mentioned it in the chat earlier on, and I think it was a good comparison as well, going that it's like driving to a destination. There's many different roads to take. There's many different routes to take. You still get there in the end, and you can still follow the same journey for 75% of it. But then you go, that last bit that wasn't really, that was taking me a bit longer than it needed to be. I can go this way. I can go this way. I can do that. And then you get people going, oh, look at you. I tell you what, yeah, you've changed. You've changed how you travel. You go, I still got here in the end. Yeah, but you've changed. And you go, no, I haven't changed, because I stuck to the road the whole time, right? You know what I mean? I stuck to the road the whole time. So that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things, don't really matter, does it? You know what I mean? Doesn't really matter. Everyone's got their different thoughts and opinions on it. I'll give absolutely Ruben Amorim credit, because I think that, he's got wins on the board. That's the currency of football. Absolutely. And this, I think this sums it up. D says, credit to Ruben Amorim. He's always said that his system is very changeable, hence why people are saying he hasn't changed. And do you know what? I think it's a really good point, that, because like Jamie says here, Ruben says, I'm not changing. But then he also did say, but actually, the way that my formation is, it changes all the time, right? So he goes, mid-match, it might be going to a back four for like 5 minutes, or it might be that suddenly it's a back five, or it might be that person who's playing as a false nine is dropping into midfield. You've got an extra body in midfield. So he's changing, but also not changing. And maybe that's why everyone's in a bit of a mind F about it. Maybe that's what it is, right? Because I think it's probably that, isn't it? Is that he, since day one, has said, I'm not going to change those counters on the board. You know what I mean? I'm not going to change those counters on the board. And not even, as Jonathan says, not even the Pope won't make me change. But then on the other hand, he also says that, but in the game, we go to a back four, and we go to a back three, and we go to a 4-4-2. We do this, we do that, and different games we do that. So it's actually I'm not going to change because we already changed. You know what I mean? I think it's a bit like that, which is why I guess both camps are right, in the sense of he hasn't changed because that's what he's been doing. But others are right by saying, but the thing's always evolving and changing anyway. And you've just, in terms of the eye test, it's different. It's you watch it. We don't have as much possession as we did, right? And as she says there, again, I asked, does it really matter? It's now working. 1,000,000%, but apparently you have to explain yourself. DJ says, my McTominay Gerrard comment has aged well. Hey, not bad, DJ. Not bad. If you know, you know. Comments are spot on, says Zabi Hugh. And Jamie says, comments are bang on. Well, just that. But this is that's very true as well, Emma, actually. Why are we going so harsh on Flex and giving KG a pass? Right? But this is, you know what it is, yeah, as well. And this is, I think, a good way to wrap it up. This is what it's all about, isn't it? As football fans, it's having these different perspectives, having these different opinions. And I guess maturing is realizing we're never going to agree. I mean, I realized this particularly under the Erik ten Hag tenure. We're never going to agree on everything. We are a strange fan base, aren't we? We're a strange fan base that we win games and lose games, and there's this. But sometimes, if you're winning, someone else in the fan base isn't winning. You know what I mean? It's still we're an odd bunch, but but I suppose we wouldn't have it any other way, right? It's what we do. It's what we do. Yeah. Ro Hemrick says, it's working and you're just jumping on the bandwagon. You were slating Amorim when he said he needed time. I don't know how me celebrating my team, this is what I don't get. I don't understand how me celebrating my team winning, which is what I wanted my team to do, is jumping on the bandwagon. You know what I mean? How? How? I don't get it. I just don't. Yeah, that's what it goes back to. You can't celebrate. You know what I mean? You can't. You're not allowed. You're not allowed. Okay. D says, Owen, are you aware of our academy pool scores regen Jim Thwaites? We need to see a clear pathway into the first team for him and Shea Lacey. I did see an article about Ruben Amorim wanting to include more and more youngsters in the first team, maybe squad and also training. I really hope so, because there is a lot of work being done into signing those young players. I know we saw some articles yesterday about it, and then they turned out they weren't true. But I really, really hope there is that pathway. Absolutely. And as Jose says there, exactly, pick a side and stick to it. Even though I did have a side, it's Man United. But it's going to be actually an interesting one. Next, I didn't realize this was a thing nowadays. When you have that conversation and you go, so who do you support? And they'll go, Man United. There's actually a follow-up question there, isn't there? Well, okay. You support Man United, you say. Yeah, but do you support Ruben Amorim or do you not support Ruben Amorim? Forget, do you support Man United? Do you support that? That's the real one. Because that's the club within the club. The club within the club, that's one. And we do it with players as well. But do you support, forget Man United, do you support Marcus Rashford or do you not support Marcus Rashford? Do you support Paul Pogba? Would you not support Paul Pogba? Do you support whoever? Or would you not support? You go, I don't really care. To be honest, as long as my team wins, but that's bandwagon. Anyway, guys, big up to everyone tuning in. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Where do we go for likes? I didn't even push it. Let's see if we can get to 300 likes on the way out. What's coming up for today? There's meant to be a full view later today, so we're going to have a full panel discussing maybe adaptation. Maybe if we've got the best front three. We'll see. But be sure to join us there. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we'll be back later on. I'm out of here. Peace.